Okay, welcome everyone. I'm just gonna see if my screen share works. Um, oh, no, that's not what I wanted to show. Oh, um, oh, there you go. Okay, can people see that?
I don't think that's what you want. Oh, there we go. Yes, we can see it now.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. Okay, welcome everyone to the archive project management meeting on Wednesday, the 5th of February, 2025. I'll just do a little standard introduction. Okay, the Singularity Net archive contains a history of the activities of the Singularity Net Ambassador Program, and all content is provided under an open source Apache 2 license, and contributions may also be licensed under a Creative Commons license. And we upload the recording of this meeting once complete. Our goal is to provide a collaborative platform for the SNet community to share knowledge, ideas, and best practices. And we welcome contributions from anyone, whether it's new project code or documentation. So I'll just go on to our process. And the way we start off our process by going over actions and decision items, and then we go through a project board, and then we may end up with a informal discussion. Shall I pass it back over to you for the action and decision items, Fanny?
Yeah, sure. Let me just screen share. I've got a bit of an unstable internet connection, so we might have some wobbles with this, but
Okay.
this is going through the meeting and it just functions as a way of checking whether action items have been done and kind of doing a bit of a recap on where we were last week. Sorry, last month. So, last month, one of our decisions was just around approving Gamers Guild's representation of the archives work group in Roblox. And we agreed that it was great and we made a couple of comments. Like a knowledge graph, this is a visual way of representing structures and connections, and conversational interface in the game might be useful in the long term for structuring questions about the archive. So it's kind of like possibly a gamified way to explore a knowledge graph or to explore the archive. And we also said it would be amazing in the long term if the archives itself could be integrated with the game and accessible in the game. So that was our comments, but that's now been documented, so we can remove that as a decision. We also got some updates from Stephen about the AI workflow issue linked there. And at that point, he was working on a presentation on Robert Stalnacker's idea of context, around possible worlds, centered worlds, that kind of thing. That is actually now done, and I'm here about it, and it's been shared, but we can remove that. We also had Stephen presenting recent work in January on LLM development. And the summary includes a few notes he said moved because it's in the last meeting summary. And Andre gave an meeting tool redesign, adding some new names to the controlled vocab for people's names, planning to design something that will be able to automate a bit that process of approving new names, and updating timeline folders and fixing a caching bug. So that's all done. You'll notice that I'm tending to put almost like topics that we talked about under decisions because we have in our summary nowhere else to put them. And I think
Mm,
this is just another underlining of why we're designing the summary tool. But, you know, in a sense, if we've discussed something and talked about it, then it is a decision. I can see, oh, Clement's coming in and Ashley's coming in. Excellent. So let me just, while I think of that, add them.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, where were we? Yeah, we discussed our tag taxonomy. which we've discussed a few times now, and just whether or not our deduped set of tags could be a layer that sits on top of our data. And it might actually mean that maybe we don't, well, maybe we need to have a different approach to how we integrate our tags. Um, that can come off because that was discussed. We also noted that given the current, as it was then in January, lowish token price, we're not actually able to start the proposed initiative that we had in our Q1 budget to create a skilled documentation team, and we're going to review that in this meeting. So I'm going to leave that on actually, and I might just, when we come to it, just change what it says. And we briefly discussed the plan to further develop an AI ethics policy for the archives. That's in our Q1 budget and it's ongoing, so I think I can remove it until we get to it. And then there was an action item for me to approach deep funding about documenting deep funding town halls, and I'm really sorry, haven't had time to do that. So I'm going to put that to like the 19th of Feb and leave it on. And there weren't any other action items. So I'm going to clear the tags and add them after the meeting and save what we've got so far. All right, that's about it.
Okay, thanks, Fanny. I'll just go back to the board. I'm going to call out the issue number, so it might be easier to timestamp. So I'll this is the meeting issue. I'll start right at the top and then just work down. So issue 230. I'm not sure if this is like an admin issue, Andre. It's just processing payments for T work.
Yeah, it's just an admin. I suppose maybe I'll do, so depending on this meeting, maybe we'll put some things through for payment. But
Right.
this thing will be there till the end of the quarter.
Okay, I see. It's an automated issue. Okay. Um, then the issue number 2245 is the meeting issue, which we've just gone over. And then I'll move on to the next one in order, which is the quarterly report, Vanny.
Yeah, I mean, in governance work group, we decided the other day that the date for submission is going to be the 10th of March. So we kind of need to start writing or thinking about writing it now. There's a draft there. Anybody is welcome to drop in and comment, but it's really, I mean, open it if you fancy, but it is actually really thin. I've based it on the last one, and yeah, basically what we're going to be saying is we did everything that we set out to do, and we actually surpassed it a little bit because what we set out to do was very much this kind of critical comparison of a RAG process and a database query. But with the work that you've been doing, Stephen, we've kind of diverged into graph RAG. So we've kind of gone beyond what we said we were going to do. And that's going to be the main thrust of our report, I think.
Cool. Okay, there's the draft report on screen. If people want to dive in there, they can follow this link from the issue. I think you've posted a link to the project board already, haven't you, Vanny? So moving on from there to the development issues, I'll go to Andre first because so we can keep these
But you broke
discussion.
up. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. I'll start with Andre on the development issues. So issue number 227 is the meeting summary tool design for quarter 1.
Yeah.
Andre.
Okay, so this one, the last thing I did was fix the names in the database, and I did start writing the script to fetch all the names because I have to fix the names in the database, in all the meeting summaries.
Right.
But that one is not done. I have started with it. Then the other thing I'm also doing is I started a new repo for a future tool
Cool.
that will the summary to operate on this new repo eventually, but I think that's going to be a few months before that happens. But I started that repo and I started just creating all of the folder structure. The first thing I'm going to build in the tool is a decision feature we talked about.
Right.
But
Okay. I see. Okay.
so that is what's happening there.
Okay. So I go to the other issue. That's the quarterly issue. Then you've got the monthly issue.
Yes.
There's issue number 240. So this is more.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
let's go down here.
So there was issues with the data dump. That one, it had that name value instead of the type of meeting. So I changed to that. And there was some validation checks.
Right.
Added some more validation checks just in case something goes wrong. And the autosave feature I'm working on, I'm still busy with that. That is also, it's getting close to finish. I think there's one feature, there's one thing I need to sort out. Because it is autosaving. The current
Okay.
version, not yet, not the deployed version. The one that I'm running locally. It's already autosaving, but there's one thing I still need to sort out. Once I sort that out, we can roll that out, and then the tool will autosave, so people don't have to rely on constantly saving. So that's getting
Okay.
close. I think
That's very useful.
maybe end of the month, maybe it will definitely be ready by then. I think so.
Cool. So the kind of the JSON validation checks are more like to look for things that break the JSON structure, like white spaces and stuff like that. So it strips them out. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Okay. Thanks for that, Andre. Vanny's got her hand raised up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Andre, is it worth saying anything about the proposed stuff about decisions that are not kind of in a meeting summary, but things
Yeah.
like the budget decision and stuff?
Yes. Yes. We first considered just adding a meeting template, but I think it will be better if we have a feature on its own, because it's not really good to have them alongside the meetings. From a data capturing perspective, it's better to separate. But that is going to be the first feature. As soon as the foundation is laid out for that new tool, I'm just going to lay down the basics and then try and start as soon as possible on that decision feature. I'm
That's
not
interesting.
sure how long it's going to take, but if we do separate it completely, then we can play around with the way we capture decisions. Then we have more freedom on how we do that. So if we made it a summary template, we would have been a little bit constrained, and it would have just created more work
So
in the future.
If we do that, that might change the data structure then, yeah?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to
Right.
create it on its own, because if it's part of the meeting summaries, it would have caused a lot of headache.
Yeah. As long as we know what's changing, it should be okay if we collaborate together. That's fine.
Yeah. The data structures for the meeting summaries, I think they will stay the same.
Right.
Even if we move forward, it's possible to keep them the same.
Okay.
When we move to the new tool, I think they will also stay the same.
Okay. That's good to know. Right. Unless there's anything else, I'll move on. I've kept the January and February ones open. I'll start with the open source AI workflow for Q1. We issued 233, and I'll just run through Okay, this is used mostly for the quarter, and it's mostly meant to cover didactic work, which is like how explaining what we do and documenting what we do and trying to provide guidance on what we do. Um, the last time I said I was going to do a presentation on context and its relation to AI ethics, and that's now completed. So I encourage anyone to go and look at that. There's a YouTube link there. And also, I documented it in the archive GitBook under a research section. And that really is like preparatory for a bit like a general introduction to how you might want to start thinking about how we might approach applying AI best practice to what we're doing. Um, the next presentation I'm going to be working on will probably be in relation to graph data modeling. Um, I'm going to try and think about what level to pitch this at, but basically be some kind of basic introduction to how to use graph data modeling for our archive meetings. It's going to be based on documentation that I've already started in our graph data model tool, which I'll talk about in the other issue. Here's some sample slides I have already from the draft. So it'd be like a visual guide to how to approach graph model data structuring and how graph queries as well. I'm also considering doing a presentation separately on how we should audit graph data, which is, I've just put in a note there. There's a link to a very basic draft here. I won't go into any detail. That may be a separate presentation, and it may come before this one because it might be a better transition to this. So this is just going to be like, how do you check your data? Basically, how do you ensure your data is okay before you graph it? And then moving on, the January one, I started talking about moving towards a graph database. And I documented some of the work I did in January. That's basically completed, so that now is done. And this February, I'm starting on, or I've now completed the first release of the graph database, which was a Python development. The repo is currently in the QA DAO organization because I still want to make sure it's all working properly before I bring it over to SNAP. And there is the link to it here with all the how to install it and initiate it. Basically, all it does is it takes JSON meeting data, in this case with one of the meeting ID dumps from the archive, and imports it into, it translates it to a graph structure with Python, and then then it imports it into a graph database, which is Neo4j. Neo4j is one of the mainstream graph databases and includes things like error handling and stuff. So just some details on how to set that up. I've also started documentation in a wiki here on how it works, and different sections here on how to query the data. This will help inform the presentation. So to give an example, here's some queries. These are called ciphers, and this is how it looks live. So in Neo4j. So this is just one record, and this is just an example of a cipher to get an overview of the overall structure of the graph. Sorry for the maybe zoom in a bit. What I'm working on now is to ensure this is just one single meeting summary record. And it's basically I'm just checking now to ensure that the relationships that are occurring here are logical. There are some annoyances like the labels aren't done properly. There are no labels, they take them from the first property in the node. These are all nodes and these are all edges or relationships. So that's that. And the quick look at the code. The code is quite a simple script which takes in the SNet data here, a single data dump, and then reads through it and then converts it to entities or relationships, which then can be executes a cipher query into Neo4j, connects to Neo4j, and then imports the data in. So that can be done quite simply. Let's go back to where I was. Right. Okay. So let's see what we've got here. Okay. Let's say development. So I'm continuing to work on that. That's basically the first release has been done. So I need to, for February, the rest of February, I need to continue enhancing that so it's more easy to use and more plain to see that it's checking it's working correctly. I'll probably test it by putting additional records in it, like a number of records in it, and see how it handles that. The other thing I'm probably going to do is to write a script. I've already written a script, but I need to test it on accessing another data source, in this case, project board issue data, which is this data we're seeing here, and build out a graph, another graph source using that. And the idea there is to create different graph sources, which we can then relate to each other. So that's that on that one. Any questions on that? No? Okay. I'll move on to issue 242, which is workgroup sync calls. Fanny?
Yeah, just to ask if there's anything that applies across all the work groups that we would want to raise in the next call, which is likely, I think, to be the end of Feb. It's something like, what's it going to be? 26th, I think it'll be. Personally, I can't think of anything except maybe the issue that we'll get to when we get to the Q2 budget about archives maintenance maybe needing to be deprecated.
Okay.
But yeah, apart from that, I can't think of anything. Can anyone else?
No, I think that's the
Yep.
major issue, isn't
Yeah.
it? Okay. So just go, next one is issue 234, which is the open source policy and culture draft. And so again, Vanny, is this
Yeah, I've not really got to this. I'm going to have something for in time for the next meeting.
cool?
But, you know, it's kind of, I think what it's going to end up being is quite informed by the work you're doing
Yeah.
on best practice. Because there
So,
are obviously ethical issues with things like contextualizing data
yeah.
and so on.
I mean, hopefully that work can be complementary because what I'm finding with graph work is these questions will already start to come up. So, um, so what Vanny is doing on open source stuff will be really important on um, the sort of questions we should ask and how we should interpret, yeah, things.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking when I've got a rough draft down, I might share it in both AI ethics work group and in the AI ethics forum and just
Yeah,
see if anybody's got any thoughts.
cool. Moving on to issue 235, developing a skilled documenters team.
Yeah, this was something that we had in our Q1 budget in the event that token price went up. Don't think I need to tell anybody here anything.
Oh dear.
This is off the table. I think
Uh,
unless something dramatic happens in the next month, this is something that is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll keep it on the back burner for future, but
yeah.
I think actually bearing in mind what we're going to say about documentation when we get to the budget, maybe not.
I
Yeah, I
was
suppose. Go on, Andre.
I I was actually thinking this issue goes hand in hand with that new auto save feature because there's a new thing that will happen when you do a summary. So I thought whoever this team is, you could train them when the thing rolls out. But I suppose if this is going to be in the back burner, we might just have to make a little video or something that shows people how the new thing works. It's not much, it's just one pop-up.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably the way to do it, or like a very short, 30-second presentation video or something we can do.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I kind of also, I suppose it highlights what we would need if we were well, not probably if we were more fully funded. So it kind of just shows you our sensitivity to budget.
yeah.
Moving on to archive GitBook issues for 184 for August.
God, I just haven't had time to actually update them. It is all done. So,
Right.
yeah, in the next week, I'm just going to go through and tick all these off. But yeah, I think we can probably skip all these issues because that is the case with all of them. I just
Okay.
need to tidy it all up and put them for payment.
Is that for all of them? So,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Um,
okay, for the sake of the
yeah.
recording, these updates will be updated in archive GitBook issues from July, August, September, October, November, and December to January. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't noticed any particular patterns. Sometimes we notice that a particular work group has a problem but yeah, it seems to be mostly going okay. And
Okay.
people are submitting their summaries. And yeah, it's all good.
So, so this is just a question of, just checking what's been done and,
Yeah,
just,
I didn't want to do it in a rush in case I ticked something that
yeah.
actually isn't in the archive. So yeah, it's kind of methodical work, but yeah, it will get
Okay,
done.
cool. Then we have issue 133, which is the taxonomy project for quarter two.
Mm.
Um,
I mean,
and
I think we're going to have to decide what we're going to do about this issue. So maybe Andre, I don't know, maybe I just need to DM you or something. But as I
Yeah,
updated 3 hours ago, and it should have been a month ago, in the 8th of January meeting, we were discussing the composability of our data and could a tag
yeah,
taxonomy kind of sit on top as another layer. And maybe with what we're doing with graph rag, maybe it's not that important. We were thinking about, oh my gosh, we have to dedupe all the misspellings and all that.
yeah,
Maybe it can find them without that, you know?
yeah,
yeah.
it's going to be, again, sorry, Andre. Go on.
No, 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 no. I was just
No,
agreeing.
yeah, I suppose there is an opportunity coming up with the graph approach. I'm not saying we should lose control of. There's two things. One, we should keep an eye on making sure our data is as clean as possible. Yeah.
Mhm.
But the graph approach does allow us some scope for handling more messy, unstructured data potentially. Um, but we again, we need to be careful there to ensure we are using the proper techniques. One technique might be to do some semantic similarity searches, like
Mm,
between tags that are spelt differently or are similar, that kind of thing. Then, so there's lots of things we are going to introduce there, but again, we want to do that in an educational way so that people can see what we're doing and
mm.
potentially could try out the approaches that we are, and also for our own sanity,
I mean,
because yeah,
the the own oh, go on. No, go on.
yeah. I was just saying that there is scope for taking almost any kind of data and putting it in a graph and then connecting it to our structured data. So the question is that we need to be very methodical in how we do that. That's what I'm saying, I suppose.
Mhm. No, the only thing also that I was going to say is that, Andre, since you implemented the controlled vocab for people's names, it has made
Yeah.
summaries much tidier. And I just think it would be, because often you can't do semantic similarity on names, obviously, because a nickname may have nothing to do with your actual name. So if you're in the database under 2 or 3 names, it's hard to track that it's you and see kind of like where your contribution has been. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think having a controlled vocab there has been really, really helpful. And I think
Yeah.
when someone's doing a summary, I think having some level of controlled vocab so that when they start typing, it will come up with something that's correct rather than something that isn't, is probably
Yes.
helpful. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we just need to do a little tidy up. And then, I mean, I think it was dead useful. The people that worked on the taxonomy project got a lot of insight into kind of what meetings across the whole ecosystem tend to be about, the range of topics that are covered, the things that come up, the duplications, like where things are discussed in one work group and then in another work group. So I don't think it was, I think it was useful. And I think we may come back to that, the documentation of that, when we're looking at the kinds of queries that might be asked once we've got knowledge graphs in place.
Yeah.
Because I think, that can give us some really interesting background. But I'm starting to think maybe the work that I started to do on tidying up the database, maybe not that useful. I mean, I get the impression, Andre, I think maybe what I could do is give you the deduplicated list of tags,
Yeah.
and then we could just make that a controlled vocab and go from there and have that the same process of if somebody wants to add a new tag, then we
Yeah.
check.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also
Yes.
some scope maybe for, I mean, I have written, and I think Vanny and Andre have seen it in our private chats. I did last week write the first named entity recognition script, which is an AI technique where you pass unstructured data to an algorithm, and it sorts out semantically whether it is what it is, whether it's an organization, a name, that kind of thing. And this is very much a first pass. That's why I haven't really talked about it today. Maybe next month we can start to document some of that. But that's the kind of thing would need involvement with. So, because you run a script and you need to test whether it's making sense. Yeah. So because as you pointed out, Vanny, sometimes it might highlight a name. Some of the names we use in Discord are easily mistaken for organizations, because it often assumes a name is in 2 parts and has a first name and a surname. But if you're using a nickname, a lot of a very unsophisticated named entity recognition script will assume it's an organization, for example. So there is always going to be a kind of a human interaction, a human element to this, which is also going to cover in some of my auditing documentation. So that could maybe pivot this tag taxonomy a little bit, Vanny.
Yeah, I think so. I think what we just probably need to do is maybe give a last update. I'll write that after this meeting and then maybe close this issue because then I think it's moving on to a new stage. But I think what we have to say is that the work we thought we needed to do about deduplicating the entire database, probably we don't need to.
Mm,
Although it would be good to, in the summary tool, institute a controlled vocab for tags.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I so okay. Let's do that, and then let's see, we've discussed the archive's GitBook issues, and then we have issue 238.
Yeah,
Check for any new
that it's
names. Go
very
on.
similar to what we just talked about. It's the same thing, but so yeah, we actually do the look at the new names that have been added. So if you scroll down, I added 2 links. There's one for names and one for tags. So the names one, we can look at. The tags is a bit of a problem, but we'll get there. So the names,
Yeah,
these are all the new names. So I don't know,
yeah,
should we decide, yeah, which ones we want to use? And then what I'll do is I'll go to the database and mark whatever names we choose are the correct ones. I'll mark them as
right.
true, and then they are the ones that we always use for that person.
Okay, Vanny,
There's
you've
a
got your
couple
hand
of
up.
people there that I know I'm at fault with. Eveline, and I'm so sorry that she's actually left because we could have asked her which one
Mm.
she
Oh,
preferred. But I've basically
shucks,
been
yeah,
adding her under different spellings and
Yeah,
different levels of
yeah,
acute accents in her French name. So maybe I'll DM her and just ask. Um, Advanced Amayo constantly gets added as Emmanuel I's double S
yeah,
AC. So I
mm,
think that is just not to be added. Um,
yeah, yes.
but we do need, I think, an all or all members. We definitely
Oh, yes,
use that quite
yeah,
often. The
yeah,
others we
yeah,
could just go through outside the meeting. I think Frosh is definitely a person who is involved. I don't know if anybody.
yeah.
Oh gosh, actually, Tuso, while you're here, um, you're sometimes recorded as Hogan Tuso, usually, but sometimes you're in as Hogan Robert. Do you have a preference?
any views on that? Okay.
Oh, I don't think he can. Maybe he can't unmute.
Mm, okay. I mean, talking about the named entity recognition, this is kind of relevant here as well because the named entity recognition would probably identify that as a name, but possibly that as an organization. Um,
Mm.
the other thing that can be done in graphs, again, this is just for the future, is that we wouldn't need to do this with graphs because you just tell a graph that these 3 names belong to the same person, for example, and you just can just leave it. So
Yeah, you
the
can, but just to add on that, it makes it easier for people writing a meeting summary if there's a agreed spelling and they just start typing it and select from the drop down. That's the only
abs
reason we're trying to
yeah,
dedupe.
absolutely. And there's going to be like 2 considerations there. One is like the structured approach from the meeting summary tool, and then is that how is that going to talk to more unstructured data? So that's the only thing I point out there.
What I'm not understanding, say with LF Maddie there, those 2 entries look the same to me. So why is it recording them? Is it just
Mm.
Oh,
that
it's
the same new tag has been added twice in 2 different meetings? Is that all that is?
Is it a white?
uh,
Is it a white
yeah.
space, Andre?
Oh, could
There
be.
is a bug. There is a bug because you can see it's recorded at the same time almost.
Oh,
There
yeah.
is an there is a new bug that I noticed. I don't know when this started happening. Maybe
Two
something
millers,
updated somewhere, but I noticed the tags got it really bad because the tag saves like 10 times. You'll see when you open the tag document, it's a mess. So I'm gonna have to go fix that. Uh,
it's
it's
literally
this
milliseconds, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, it's there's like a racing bug. I think it runs a function and then it re-renders the page, then it runs the function again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You'll
That's.
see it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I can
Oh,
see. Yeah. I can
when
see
you
that.
just went to tags there as well, can you just go back? Because what I'm seeing this error happens a lot is that we have comma separated values that are not somehow recording as separate tags. And I don't know why. Does somebody have to hit return like after they've added?
Yeah, you see, I think I did put in a check that if there's commas, it should separate them. But I can see that maybe they just copied and pasted, but I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure I did put in a
possibly. I
check.
wonder if Do you think there
Oh,
is
this
a
is
way
old. You
that?
see, this no, I did put it in. It will separate, and this is old. You can see this was captured last year. That's why it's still like that.
Oh,
But
right.
if they do
Okay.
it now,
Yeah,
it should
it will
separate.
separate. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I mean, I don't suppose there's a way that we could go. Is there anything you could write that could tidy up old summaries that have like one
Those,
tag that's actually three tags?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back with these names and tags and go and clean up.
I mean, I could try
So
and
when
clean
I
it
do that, I
manually.
can, but I have to clean it in the database as well, not just
Uh,
in,
yeah.
so
Okay.
that is on the list.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it'd be ace if that could be automated because like I could go back through and tidy it manually and then but
yeah.
we don't want to do that.
I won't be able to automate the GitBook tidying up because that can get messy.
Okay.
So there, but
All right, maybe I could do the GitHub end. I don't know, the GitBook end and like you do the database end.
yeah,
I don't know how important it is anyway, but in the event that we have unexpected spare time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, are you encountering some markdown manipulation issues there with the GitBook, Andre?
I'm
Because
scared
yeah,
because
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of data, and I can do a lot of
Mm.
tests, and if I run it on everything, then I'm gonna have to go look. Okay, where did it maybe make a mistake?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you
It's
have
too
to,
risky. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
risky.
So, I mean, it's okay drawing data from Markdown, but
Yes,
writing to, which is what I'm doing with the GitHub
yeah,
project board scripts I'm doing, which is, but the writing to Markdown, as you say, you need to be very careful because it could overwrite
yeah,
your data. Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe it doesn't matter. If you can just scroll down a little bit on that, Stephen, I think Google Classroom and Process are in as separate tags anyway. So where we've got them in a string because somebody's type pasted, it's not an issue. Ah, maybe they're not. Okay. Okay.
I wonder.
There's a lot of abstain.
Yeah. Are these all
Yeah,
duplicates
Oh,
then?
yeah. Some of them are good. Some of them are that bug. You see,
Okay.
some of them are quite close on the timestamps. That's the bug.
Right.
oh,
Okay.
Like this
yes, I
one.
see.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, see what I mean. And it goes on and on. Yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah. I won't go on anymore. But yeah.
I don't
Okay, well
know
that's
why, but I'll fix that. I don't know.
a work in progress.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, thanks for that, Andre and Vanny. Let's see what the next issue is. We have before going to the budget, I'll go to the updates to the Ambassador Gitbook, which is issue 232.
Yeah, can't remember what date Sucre was going to be. I think we just said by the end of the quarter. So
Is Sucre here?
yeah, no, I don't think she is.
No. Oh, she is.
Oh,
Yeah,
she
I'm
is.
here.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Sucre.
Hi.
Hi. Do you want to say anything about this
Hello.
Okay.
issue?
Yeah, it's up to date. Everything is there. Latest budgets and quarterly reports are all in there.
Okay.
Oh, right. If we can just add a note to the end of the issue, then we can put that for payment next time Andre does a payment, then
What should I type in?
Yes.
Work complete or
just all updated, I suppose, and ready to send for payment.
okay.
And if you can change this, if you can change the status as well, then yeah.
to done or Yeah.
Can't remember what we've got. Yeah, done. That's all we have. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You notice that we have this sub issue feature now as well, by the way. The
I know, I don't
okay.
like it.
You
I don't know
like it?
what to do with it.
No, I just want to mention that in passing. Okay, go to budget 246 issue 246. So we kind of were anticipating this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is not going to be pretty, everyone. I mean, yeah, submission date will probably be the 10th of March. If you can open the doc, people are going to see, sorry, the spreadsheet, people are going to see the position that we're going to be in. As everyone knows, token price is not looking very healthy. And yeah, just scroll down a little bit.
Sorry, Mike.
That's what it's like, everyone.
Can't
Um,
afford.
I
Okay.
mean, if you just go down like that, will leave us with, we're still 250 over what we should be. So we're still going to have to just hope that token price goes up because I cannot see what else we can cut.
Gosh.
I mean, at current price, we've got 3,500. So yeah, all of these things that we thought we might do, outreach to the rest of the ecosystem, further RAG analysis work involving the community,
Yeah.
meeting summary tool redesign, like publicity to show, what you were saying before, Andre, about showing people how to use it.
Yeah.
That issue, the meeting summary tool redesign kind of part 2, is just going to have to be folded into Andre's development.
That's that has actually been passed. I think I started work in June last year, and we moved.
Yeah.
It was split
I
in
know.
half, and the one just kept moving forward.
I know.
But it's
I
okay.
mean, to be fair, I think what we planned to do with that issue has actually been done because, quarter 1 was the last one that we kind of pushed to another quarter. So what we had
Yeah,
there was possibly there will be more, but it's just going to
yeah.
have to. I mean,
If
I don't know.
no,
Maybe we put it on the back burner if there's other development work that you're going to need to
no,
prioritize. If you
no,
can you
no.
just scroll up a little bit, Stephen?
You know what? Regarding that, I did do there was a couple of features that was urgent, and I think this
Yeah.
autosave is the last feature. And
Yeah.
then I'm just going to focus on building that new tool.
Yeah. So I
So
guess what the budget will
yeah,
have to say is that's going to have to be, your tool development work for
yes,
a quarter.
yeah.
The other thing, Sukra, while you're here, I don't see how we can afford the updates to the Ambassador GitBook unless something good happens to token price. But the main thing I wanted to mention is row 16 there. What we usually have as, archive management, approving and checking meeting summaries and chasing them and doing all that. We can't afford to do it. It's normally we've had in the last couple of issues, we've had 500 in there for that across the quarter. So what I'm going to suggest is that actually, even if the price does go up, I might still suggest this because I think it'd be interesting, is that I stop doing it and I simply routinely approve summaries regardless. And if anybody doesn't send a summary in, I just record it as no summary given. I don't chase. And what this will do is that we might have a quarter's worth of summaries that some of them will be good, some of them might be a little bit ropey and could have benefited from some correction. But it will give us some data on how a graph process actually manages shonky data,
One thing I
It
will
will.
say about, sorry.
No, go on.
Yeah, I just, if you could do that at the end of a month, so that we have
Right.
a clear cut off. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
have to publicize that
Yeah. Yeah.
if your meeting isn't in by the end of the month, it's going to be recorded as no summary given.
Yeah. Because then, as you say, there'll be like a clear before and after.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
this
yeah,
is this is what I'm suggesting we bring up in the Workgroup Sync call.
okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think we've discussed this briefly where it's still, the archive is also a corpus of data. So Although it seems like a rather brutal decision, it's not. It does, as you say, Vanny, it creates a different kind of data to compare,
Hmm.
and it still maintains. We're still working like with the development work and with the project management work. We're
Hmm.
still working with that corpus,
Yeah.
So
And this is the point I've always wanted to get to, because this system, eventually, we hope it would be able to be used by anybody.
mm,
And, in times of like more money, we have done quite a lot of work on training people how to do a good meeting summary, how to upload it, all this stuff. But you can't do that for everybody who wants to use this system, can you? So I want to see if a graph process can enable us to query the archive, even if summaries are not great, even if they're muddled, unclear.
mm,
I sometimes wonder if many people realize how much correction we do. I know that, Kizzy, you have done a fair bit in your time, and so have a couple of other people here. Essay, you have. And it can be a bugger, because honestly, some of what is submitted, it's not that it's inaccurate in any obvious sense. It's just that it's written badly and written in a confused way, and it's sometimes taken from an AI generated, a read AI summary that doesn't understand the context and is trying really hard to make sense of it. What those tools have been trained on are kind of corporate um, business type things rather than decentralized communities. So they kind of, read AI kind of shifts us towards what would be said if we were um, a
mm,
corporation, And to me, it kind of, it erases, it rubs out who we actually are. But I'm hoping that with enough extant data that we have kind of managed and tried to rephrase and tried to rework so it reflects who we are,
mm,
maybe it won't matter anymore. Maybe if you've got a sufficient corpus that it can
mm.
compare with.
That's right. I
Do you know,
mean,
do you know what I mean?
to relate it back to the graph rag project, if you think, in the moment we're at the kind of an early stage where we are mapping out the data, if you like, and then what will happen? The reason why we're taking this approach is so that we will then use a generative LLM guided by the graph rag to submit cipher queries. So what will that hopefully end up? I'm not going to promise when this will be, but hopefully in the next few months, is that you'll go through like a dashboard and you'll put a query in, and that query will be converted into a cipher, and then you'll see hopefully get a visual feedback of the graph of what you're looking at, and that could be an opportunity there, Vanny, for showing, giving feedback to people. Excuse me.
Yeah, possibly. Except I'm sort of looking forward to the day when maybe we move to a point where it doesn't really matter how bad your meeting summary is. Maybe it can still make sense of it. I think being able to write a good meeting summary is an incredibly useful transferable skill. So maybe the work we've done up until now is helpful to people and has contributed to like individuals being able to do something that they will be able to also do in other contexts. It's like a basic work skill. But yeah, I'm starting to feel that maybe we're at a point where we move away from that and we move away from all that, yeah, grunt work of trying to correct meeting summaries and make sure they make sense. We could, of course, find that it's an utter disaster, and even um, using a graph process, it still can't make sense of it, and we end up with all sorts of hallucinatory nonsense. If we do, then we know that maybe we need to prioritize like training people again and doing all that stuff. But I just think, because we will be able to isolate stuff from Q2 2025 if we want to and compare it with other quarters, it could be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'll give us an opportunity to and also shift our work a bit to hopefully your work as well, so you can be involved more in things like named entity recognition and things like that,
Yeah, we're
So
not doing this because I'm bored of correcting meeting summaries. We're really,
no,
really
nothing to do with that. It's to do
not at
because
all, no.
no, but
But I know there's a lot of people here who do meeting summaries at times. I'd really like to hear from people what you think about this approach. Does it sound like, oh God, no, you don't want to do that, or what?
any thoughts? Anyone? Okay, I'd take that as a no, or a no thoughts at present anyway. So yeah, so we're kind of cut back to the bone then. Is because of the price.
I mean, I suppose one question also is, supposing the price goes up a bit between now and early March, what do people think is the priority thing that we should bring back into the budget?
Definitely the training of that team to do their documentation, to capture the summary tools.
And it would be quite nice to pay the quarterly report. So maybe we
Yeah,
bring that in as well.
Oh yes.
yeah, I think
So
that
it's
one.
23 and 24. Stephen, can you make a note on both of those will be brought back if price rises?
Okay, 24, you said.
23 and 24, yeah.
It's not letting me edit that.
Oh, bollocks, have I not made it access? Okay, I'll do it later.
Yeah,
It's all
okay.
right. Sorry.
I would just chip in that I think wider ecosystem outreach is quite good as well. But again, it needs to be funded. These things need to be funded, don't they?
Depends how much the price goes up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're already
Let's all have
kind
a
of
nightly chant of Ching Ching Money Tree, and we'll see.
yeah, yeah. I mean, hopefully by focusing on our core work, because also I suppose Andre and me, and also the scope for Vanny to produce more generic solutions, so which could go maybe get funding from elsewhere as well. Um, so that's nothing to consider. Um, but yeah, it is right to the bone at the moment. Okay, let's go to I think this might be the final issue. Let's have a look. Yes, I think it is, unless I've missed anything. I don't think I have. Okay, I'll stop sharing there. And does anyone have any questions or issues they'd like to talk about before I stop the recording?
I wanted to mention that we had that no summary given bug, so that will also be sorted out with the autosave feature.
Okay, okay. How does the autosave work? Is that a kind of super base thing?
Yeah, well, yeah, I've got this thing that monitors what the user is doing. If I type, as soon as I stop, then it saves.
Okay. Okay, if there's not any other comments, then I'll stop the recording.